Are you losing hair or just worried about your hair appearing thinner in certain areas? You are not alone. So many people experience hair loss, hair shedding, hair thinning at various points in their lives, and this is actually a big problem. I receive emails and messages and comments from people regularly who are struggling with hair loss or even at a point of desperation where they are just ready to try anything to save their hair. And I can really, really empathize. Although I am blessed with naturally thick hair, I have definitely dealt with hair loss at various points in my life, especially after the birth of my 4 babies. I have just had my 5th baby, but I'm not yet at that point of postpartum hair loss. So fingers crossed that some of the things in this video will help me in a month or two. And honestly, it's no surprise that it's very common today for people to be struggling with hair loss because we live in a world that is obsessed with outer, superficial, cosmetic beauty, often at the expense of our inner health. And hair is really a barometer of our overall health. Because hair is not necessary for our survival, hair is often the first thing to show negative signs that something is off in the rest of our body. Because if there's something going on in our body, our bodies will always prioritize our inner organs more so than our hair and our nails and our skin. So hair is actually a great barometer to tell how your body's doing in general. Now, am I saying that all hair loss is caused by some sort of serious lurking disease? Of course not. We're going to talk about different causes of hair loss in this video, as well as different remedies that you can try. And we're actually going to be exploring a method of healing from hair loss that I like to call the peeling the onion approach. Because all forms of healing, especially healing from hair loss, is best looked at like an onion. There are the superficial layers of the onion that are kind of the easiest to see and the easiest to access. And so those are going to be our more quick fixes for hair loss, things that are more just topical treatments and things that can really help, if not start regrowing your hair just from them alone. Now, there's also going to be the middle layers of the onion that, once you peel off the outer layers, there are these inner layers that are a little harder to see, but they're still sort of close to the surface. And that's going to be a deeper level of remedies for hair loss that we're going to talk about in this video that also can help to address whatever internal causes are related to the hair loss. And then if you look at an onion, there is, of course, the inner core of the onion, which is right in the center. It's the hardest part to see and the hardest part to access. But once we uncover those first layers, I'm going to dig into those very more deep, more like health, body-based things that you might want to look at if you're struggling with hair loss. Now, I am not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not going to be going like super in depth into any of these remedies. I'm just going to be bringing up very sort of deep things to do with your overall bodily health that you may want to look at and consider if you're struggling with hair loss and if the more superficial remedies aren't working for you. So first of all, what exactly does hair loss look like? And who could be experiencing it? Okay, so hair loss, we all lose hairs every day. Now, the typical sort of standard that people say is a normal amount of hairs to be shedding every day is, I believe, 20 to 100 strands per day. But there is a field of thought that says that actually, once you get up to 100 strands a day, that's probably actually not normal. Maybe it's just kind of been normalized in our culture, but it's not actually normal. But regardless, it is normal to be shedding some amount of hairs per day, and I think our own feelings are a good barometer of what is normal. If you are just combing your hair and you're seeing a certain amount of hair come out that's making you feel worried, I would say you can consider that hair loss. That being said, if you see a few strands coming out whenever you detangle your hair, that is completely normal, and don't be upset about that. But yeah, if you're losing an amount of hair that makes you feel uncomfortable every day and you're noticing areas of your hair that you can see your scalp more easily than before, then you're likely experiencing some sort of hair loss or hair thinning. So who experiences hair loss? Basically, everybody can experience hair loss at certain points in their lives. I don't know if there's any stats on this. I'm sure there are, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like close to 100% of people experience hair loss at some point in their lives, because men, of course, experience hair loss quite commonly once they get to a certain age. And then women, not all women have babies, but a lot of women have babies, and postpartum hair loss is fairly common. We're going to talk about that later in the video. And there are other hormonal reasons why women can be losing hair, such as menopause or just overall hormone changes, as well as there's just other reasons why either men or women could be losing their hair that's related to our state of inner health or our state of mind, like if we're experiencing a lot of stress, for example. Quick fix hair loss remedies. Okay, so this section of the video is going to be focused on that outside layer of the onion of healing from hair loss. So if you'll remember, I'm referring to the outside of the onion as being more what we'd call quick fixes or just topical remedies that are quite simple to use, to apply to our head, and they can have very quick effects and they can make your hair start growing back. Now, they might not necessarily get to the root cause of what's causing the hair loss, but for many people, this is the only type of remedy they need, and just using some of these topical remedies can be enough for them to reverse their hair loss. And that's a wonderful thing. Not everyone has to go digging deep down into the root causes. This could be enough for you. Okay, so I'm not going to go super in depth into all of these. I'll touch on each of them, but I'm just kind of going to go rapid fire through these surface remedies. And if you're interested in any particular one, then leave a comment below and I'll keep that in mind for a future video to talk more in depth about it. Okay, so as you might already know, if you've watched any of my other hair care videos, you'll know that I'm a big believer in hair and scalp oiling. So that is the first remedy that I'm going to mention as a wonderful, wonderful time-tested remedy for hair loss and for regrowing hair, which is applying oil to your scalp. Now there's all manner of different oils that you can use. You could use something just like olive oil or coconut oil from your kitchen. You could use jojoba oil, argan oil. There's all sorts of oils. Or you can use a herbal infused oil. I'll quickly show you this absolutely amazing scalp oil treatment that I have been using. It's made by a company called The Innate Life, and this particular scalp treatment contains 32 ingredients, and each one has been selected with intention. Each one has amazing benefits for hair growth and scalp health. You would love to try this amazing scalp oil treatment. There's a link for you in the description and a code for you to get 15% off. If you want to try out a wonderful, wonderful hair growth promoting herbal hair oil blend, then check out my herbal hair growth oil video, which will be linked for you in the description. And it is really wonderful for regrowing hair. Now the next one is essential oils. Essential oils are wonderful at regrowing hair. They actually have like medicinal sort of compounds in them. And they also do a great job at stimulating blood circulation to the scalp, which, let's just say that right off the bat, most of these topical remedies, what they're aiming for is to stimulate blood flow to the scalp, because when you have a lack of blood flow to your scalp, that can manifest as hair loss. And when you have great blood flow to your scalp, you are very unlikely to experience hair loss. So a lot of these remedies have that goal in mind. So commonly used essential oils that are wonderful for hair loss and hair regrowth are rosemary essential oil, peppermint essential oil because it's great at dilating the blood vessels in your scalp, lavender essential oil, and really most essential oils have some degree of benefit when it comes to helping to grow hair, but those are just the top ones that come to mind at the moment. Okay, so now let's talk about herbs. I already touched on this when I talked about the hair oiling, but herbs on their own, like mixed with water, for example, in a paste, or made into a tea with hot water, or mixed with oil, can all have various hair growth stimulating benefits. So these could be Ayurvedic herbs that come from traditional Indian medicine, such as amla, fenugreek. I'm going to put one on the screen that I have no idea how to pronounce as well. It's also great for hair growth. Neem is wonderful for regrowing hair as well. And then there are Western herbs that are great for regrowing hair, such as rosemary or even nettles. Okay, so now we're going to move on to non-oil hair loss remedies. And I think this is very important to talk about because of the fact that when you're losing hair and you want to be doing something very serious to quickly counteract this and quickly start growing back your hair, this might be something that you want to do every day or every other day. And for many people, applying oil to their scalp every day or every other day is not a practical thing, either because their hair is very fine or straight and it shows the oil a lot more and it's hard to wash it out, or because sometimes when you're experiencing hair loss, applying too much oil to your scalp or leaving it in for too long can actually, in my experience, exacerbate the hair loss. I have actually experienced this myself. Now, I still love oils. I'm not bashing oils. I use oils all the time in my hair, but I'm just saying you need to just, use them with care. Don't overuse them, because often if you're applying a hair growth oil to your scalp every night, for example, because you're panicking about losing hair and you're not washing it off every time, the oil can kind of sit on your head, and to hair follicles that are already struggling to, keep growing, kind of being smothered in oil like this can have like the opposite to desired effect to what you want. And I'm pretty sure experienced this through my own postpartum hair loss episodes, where if I put oil on my scalp, I have to make sure to wash it out no later than the next morning, because if I leave too much oil on my scalp or even in my hair, it starts to just it feels like it's clogging up my follicles even more. And I'm pretty sure I noticed a little bit more hair loss when I'm doing too much oil. So anyway, that's why we're going to talk about non-oil hair growth treatments that you can use as an adjunct to, for example, a once weekly oil treatment, which is a great starting point. So non-oil-based hair growth treatments that come to mind are apple cider vinegar rinses. You will probably know already that I'm a huge fan of apple cider vinegar rinses because it is a wonderful pH balancer for the hair itself. But something I haven't talked about as much about apple cider vinegar rinses is that it's actually amazing for your scalp as well. It does an amazing job at stimulating blood flow to the scalp, and I can tell this because whenever I use it on my scalp, even my face gets red. Even though I'm not applying it to my face, it just is bringing all the blood flow to my head in general. Now, apple cider vinegar can also help fight bacteria or fungal growth in the scalp that can also be responsible for hair loss, and that is another wonderful benefit. Also, if you are having hair loss from too much oil buildup or even product buildup on your scalp that's clogging your hair follicles, apple cider vinegar does a wonderful job at stripping this away. And in fact, I would recommend apple cider vinegar rinses to pretty much everyone who's experiencing hair loss to be used in conjunction with whatever else you're doing. So for example, if I apply oil to my scalp one night and then I wash it out the next morning, I will always follow that up with an apple cider vinegar rinse, especially if I'm dealing with hair loss, because that just makes sure the oil is completely cleansed out, and it just adds another sort of scalp health benefit to my overall treatment. Now, another very easy non-oil hair growth promoter are black tea rinses. So black tea rinses can be used in the exact same way as apple cider vinegar rinses, just by putting it in an applicator bottle and squeezing it onto your scalp. And so you'd actually use a basic black tea bag, steep it in hot water the night before, and then when it's cool, you can put it into your plastic bottle and squeeze it on your scalp. Now, I don't know a ton about this. I can't think of all of the scientific terms as to why black tea rinses work for hair growth. If I think of them during the editing phase, I will add it on the screen or in the description. But basically, the caffeine in black tea or even coffee helps to combat one of the substances in the body. I believe it's a sort of hormonal substance. It's linked to male hormones, and it's linked to male pattern balding or just hair loss in general. And caffeine helps to block this thing from going into receptors in your body. So caffeine, I've experienced, can be a very dramatic quick fix for hair loss. That's not to say that it will just solve all your hair loss problems overnight, but I have noticed a big difference, and I've seen a lot of other people on the internet have great experiences with black tea rinses, very quickly decreasing the amount of hair that they're losing. So that's definitely something to try. Now, the final non-oil, very, very potent hair regrowth promoting remedy that I'm going to talk about is onion juice. Now, if you've never heard of this, it might sound kind of gross, but onion juice is hands down, the most effective, very powerful hair growth promoting remedy. Now, I'm not saying it's better than oils, or you should switch out oils for just onion juice, or that you should just be doing this every day, because obviously it's stinky and it can be hard to wash out of your hair. But it is amazing, and I have used it throughout at least my last 3 postpartums, because I just know it's that effective. And very quickly after using it, I will notice brand new baby hairs growing. I'll even notice hairs growing in places around my temples where I haven't had hair growing previously. It brings all the hairs out of your scalp, and it also stimulates faster hair growth if that's something you're interested in as well. Again, I can't think of all the scientific substances that are in onion juice that make it work. But first of all, it's great at stimulating blood flow to the scalp because obviously raw onion is very potent. And when you turn that raw onion into juice, it's even more potent and more like pungent, very good at drawing blood circulation. It also is a rich source of sulfur, which is one of the main building blocks for hair. So I definitely recommend onion juice. And you can make onion juice treatments even more potent by adding cayenne pepper, maybe a little ginger juice, and even a little garlic juice into it. Now I know you're gonna smell like curry, or even more potent than curry if you put this on your head, but if you're really looking for a quick fix, I highly recommend this. I first learned about this specific mixture of onion juice with these other things from another great channel called Green Beauty, and I will link her video below if you're looking for that exact recipe with the onion juice mixture, because it is amazing. Okay, so I have a final 2 recommendations for combating hair loss on the more topical or superficial level. The first of these is consider switching out whatever mode of shampooing you're using. So if you're using a conventional shampoo, you might definitely want to consider switching to at least a very natural, gentle shampoo, something that is just made with like only natural ingredients, like a soap bar, like a natural soap shampoo bar, or even something like, what's it called, cast iron soap. You can make great DIY shampoos with cast iron soap. And I would also recommend not shampooing your hair every day or every other day, but trying to stretch out the time between shampoos a little bit if possible. Again, keeping in mind that you don't necessarily want to have oil sitting on your scalp for long periods of time when you're dealing with hair loss. Now, another great recommendation in this same vein is consider switching out your shampoo for a natural clay wash. I have talked about clay washes a lot on this channel. I will link my other videos below where I go more in depth. I personally only wash my hair with Rhassoul clay because I love it. It cleans the oil out of my hair quite effectively, and it also nourishes and moisturizes my hair at the same time, and it helps to naturally define my curls. But another great benefit of clay washing, whether you're using Rhassoul clay or another type of clay such as bentonite, is that it is wonderful at detoxing the scalp and drawing blood circulation to the scalp. This is why if you've ever done a clay mask on your face, I have done them, and I always notice that my face is very red after. And it's because the clay does such an amazing job at drawing blood circulation to your face. And it does the same thing when you put it on your scalp. Even if you don't put it on your scalp for very long, it still is bringing blood circulation. And it is a wonderful detoxer for the scalp. So if you believe that your hair loss is partially being contributed to by chemicals that you have been using in your hair or on your scalp over the years, such as conventional shampoos or hair dyes, then I would highly recommend using clay treatments on your scalp to detox that. Apple cider vinegar can also have a detoxing effect, which I should mention. Now, let's say you try out clay washing and it's not enough for you to get all the oil out of your hair. Then I would recommend either trying a different type of clay, such as bentonite clay, which is a little more drying, or you can use the clay in conjunction with a natural shampoo. So you would first shampoo your hair with a natural mixture or natural shampoo that you've bought, and then you'd go in with your clay and use it as a supplement to this. And so that way you're still getting the hair growth promoting benefits of the clay. Okay, now I'm going to talk about another one of my hair loss remedies, and I almost hesitate to put this into the quick fix category because this remedy, it does work on a topical level, but it does also improve your overall health, and so that's what we're going to talk about now. What is this amazing remedy? It is scalp massage. Scalp massage is literally like amazing. It is amazing on so many levels. I think we all know that a good scalp massage is great for stress relief or for improving sleep, for example. And it's also amazing for drawing blood circulation to your scalp and helping to wake up your follicles and bring all the nutrients that are already in your blood from the food you eat or the supplements you take, bringing that to your scalp and to your follicles. So for example, let's say you're taking a bunch of supplements to help combat hair loss. That's great. But if your blood isn't getting efficiently to your scalp, it's not going to do you much good. So you want to be massaging your scalp to encourage all that goodness in your blood to get to your follicles. Scalp massage is also a great adjunct to the other treatments we already mentioned. I mean, obviously, if we're applying oil or if we're applying some sort of herbal treatment or onion juice or apple cider vinegar rinse to our hair, we can combine that with a scalp massage. Scalp massage is just amazing. It has so many benefits. Scalp massage can be super simple. It can just be with your fingers, or there are various tools on the market that can help you get a more effective and efficient scalp massage. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, one of the reasons why I say that scalp massage almost could be in the next category of things that also affect our inner health is because there are tons and tons of acupressure points in your head that have been known by Chinese medicine as well as Ayurveda for thousands of years to promote overall health and well-being, as well as mental health, good sleep, mental clarity, all of that. So this is really a great all-around thing that I think everyone should be doing, whether or not you're struggling with hair loss, is scalp massage, as well as just like holding acupressure points on your head if that suits you better. Okay, so now I'd like to talk to you about an amazing tool that I have been using to optimize my scalp massages and absolutely get the most possible benefits out of them. Scalp Hero Smart Scalp Massager. First, let me talk to you about why I am so excited about this product. As you may already know, I recently had a baby. She is 2 months old. After all of my babies, I have struggled with postpartum hair loss. And so I'm getting to that point where it's definitely on my radar, something I'm getting a little bit nervous about. Also been having some trouble sleeping lately. I've been waking up in the middle of the night, just kind of like worrying about things more. This particular scalp massager is great for both of these issues. So Scalp Hero Smart Scalp Massager, it's the perfect hair growth and stress relief tool you could ever have. It's built on Ayurvedic principles of the importance of scalp massage as well as acupressure point stimulation for overall health and well-being, as well as for hair health. As we already talked about, scalp massage is amazing because it brings oxygen, nutrients, and blood flow to your scalp. So why is this Scalp Hero scalp massager so much better than other ones on the market? I've used a bunch of them. This is the best one because it has these little arms that stick out. They move around in circular motion, and it literally feels like you have an expert masseuse living in your house giving you like the most amazing massage with their fingers. It actually moves the skin around on your scalp. That is the hallmark of a good scalp massage. That's basically what we're trying to encourage when we massage our scalp. Flexible and for blood to be able to flow to all of the areas. It also includes a red light on the bottom of it. Red light therapy is known to improve hair growth and even regrowing hair. So I've been using this tool every night now religiously before bed, and let me tell you what I have noticed. On the nights that I use this tool, I have wonderful sleeps. I have tons and tons of baby hairs growing. It's not just at my temples, it's everywhere. Like if I'm feeling my scalp here or here, I'm noticing these little tiny hairs that are just sprouting out. So if you're at all interested in trying this out, I recommend you try it out now because Scalp Hero is currently offering 50% off of their scalp massagers, which is a wonderful deal for a limited time to celebrate having reached 10K happy customers. So that's amazing. I definitely recommend you take advantage of this deal. These are worth every penny. Like, get one for your entire household and everyone will love it. Shipping is free worldwide and you can actually try it out risk-free for 60 days. The link to purchase your very own amazing scalp massager is in the description. Thanks Scalp Hero for sponsoring this video. Mid-level remedies. Okay, so let's talk about if we're using the peeling the onion approach to hair growth. Now we're going to talk about more of those mid-level remedies that are more in the mid-level of the onion, underneath the surface, but not quite at the core yet. And what I mean by this is remedies that do affect your inner health, but they still might not necessarily be getting to like the inner core of the problem of whatever is causing your hair loss. Now, again, I'm not saying that everyone who has hair loss does have some sort of internal health problem. In fact, there's probably lots of people who have hair loss that is only related to stuff that they've been doing topically to their scalp. And so if they can change those practices and use the superficial remedies, then that's probably enough. But I do believe there are a lot of people who, at least as a contributing factor, have some sort of internal reason why they're losing hair. And so these mid-level remedies are still sort of easier to implement, but they do help address some of those internal reasons. So this is going to be a rather short list. So the first one I'm going to mention is acupressure. This does sort of link to the scalp massage that I already mentioned, but it's a little more of a targeted approach. Now, what is acupressure? Acupressure is based on the traditional Chinese medicine approach to healing of acupuncture, except that acupressure is obviously just done with your fingers, and it can be done easily yourself at home. Now, I love acupressure. I am a firm believer in the benefits of acupressure and acupuncture. I've used acupuncture at various points in my life. We're going to talk about that in the next section. But acupressure is a wonderful way to try it out, especially if you're scared of needles or if you can't afford to go see a professional. It's wonderful, and it's actually better than acupuncture in some ways because you can do it like very regularly at home. You can do this every day. You can do it twice a day. So for example, after my last baby, when I was starting to experience hair loss, I got into the routine of every afternoon when I would lie down for my little afternoon nap session with the baby, I would hold certain acupressure points. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and then a couple at the back of my head. I'll show a diagram of those ones. These are all points that are great for promoting hair growth, and they're also great for promoting mental health, which is another reason why I wanted to do them, because mental health is always on my radar after having a baby when my hormones are all crazy. They're really just great overall healing points, but especially if you're struggling with hair loss, I would recommend getting in the habit of holding these points twice a day. And you might be surprised at what happens, not just with your hair, but with your overall sense of emotional well-being, mental well-being, etc. Now, the other mid-level remedy I'm going to talk about are supplements. Now, again, supplements I would still consider to be more of a superficial way to treat whatever internal causes might be to your hair loss, because they're a relatively quick way to do it, and they're not necessarily going to solve the problem, but they can just help your body sort things out, help support your body. Now, that being said, if your body is actually deficient in something, then taking a supplement could really help address that. Now, ideally, we want to be treating that with food, so you don't just want to view supplements as a way to cop out of trying to eat healthy, of course, but supplements such as MSM, which I've talked about in other videos, is wonderful, and I would probably recommend that to pretty much everyone as long as you check with your healthcare provider and it's safe for you. I would recommend that to like everyone who wants to take it, who it's safe for, as a way to help with hair loss. I have noticed an increase in the speed of my hair growth since taking MSM, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's also helping my hair to be more thick and to grow back faster after my postpartum hair loss episodes. Basically, MSM is a form of organic sulfur, and most of us are lacking sulfur in our diets because it's very depleted in the soil that our food grows from, and sulfur is very important for overall health as well as for hair growth and skin and nails and that kind of thing. Now, I am not a supplement junkie, so if you are seriously looking into supplements to help your hair growth, I would actually recommend seeing a naturopath or someone like that to give you recommendations for your specific situation. Some that come to my mind right now are biotin. I've never personally tried that, but that's one of them. Also, zinc. If you're deficient in zinc, it can make you be losing hair. B vitamins, perhaps a nice omega-3 supplement or a fish oil. I personally take cod liver oil every day, and I think that probably helps as well. So yeah. Oh, vitamin C. Vitamin C is another great one to try. So there are supplements, or you could also take like superfood supplements. That's personally what I gravitate towards. So some great superfood supplements that you might want to try. If you have hormonal hair loss, for example, you might want to try something like maca, which is an adaptogen, but it's also known to help balance hormones. You could also take amla. Amla is often used in topical treatments for hair growth, but it's also a superfood and can be taken internally, and it's a rich source of vitamin C. And if you want a natural food source of B vitamin complex, I personally take bee pollen, and I have been for several years, and I absolutely love it. So those are superfood supplements that come to mind as well. Inner core remedies. Okay, so this section now we're going to talk about the inner core of the onion of healing, so to speak. So these are more things that relate to your deep inner health, your deep inner state of health. And again, I'd like to reiterate that I'm not saying that everyone who's struggling with hair loss has some sort of deep internal problem with their body or anything like that. You might be one of those people who's just experiencing hair loss just for more superficial reasons, and it easily goes away with the topical remedies. But if you're suspecting that your hair loss could be linked to something going on inside of your body, then this section is for you. So first of all, I'd like to preface this by saying that I am not a doctor or a healthcare professional of any kind whatsoever. So this is just going to be a very quick overview of things that you might want to take time to investigate on your own with your own healthcare provider, whoever that may be, whether it's your doctor or whether you go to a naturopath or an acupuncturist, whoever you choose to support you on your journey. Just talk with them about it. I'm not a doctor. I'm just going to give you some things that you might want to consider as for internal things that could be causing hair loss. Let's talk about male pattern balding because I think that's a big problem, especially in our culture today. Male pattern balding, I'm sure there's lots of like topical reasons why it happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with like the expectations that our culture puts onto men. For example, like this obsession with productivity at all costs, always working to get stuff done and not prioritizing like self-care. Self-care is something we hear tossed around a lot, but it's usually more of a feminine thing. Like you usually only hear women talking about it. And another thing that comes to mind about male pattern balding that could be like more of the deep level of what could be causing it is our culture's obsession with men not being able to show their emotions as much as women. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that contributes to this like constant state of stress due to the repression of your emotions that could cause you to lose your hair. Because again, like I know this might seem kind of like kooky to say, but hair is a barometer of what's going on inside of us, whether that's our body or our emotions. And so if we're losing hair and we've tried a bunch of other things that are more like topical remedies and it's not working for us, you might want to investigate not just your state of physical health, but your state of mental and emotional health as well. Okay, let's talk about what you eat because this is a huge one when it comes to just your state of health. And our culture does not place that high of an emphasis on like the importance of good foods. And whenever we do hear about healthy eating, it's usually just like, oh, eat 4 vegetables a day and don't eat chips too much or whatever. But eating healthy for me, when it comes to hair loss, it's not just about avoiding certain things like junk food. It's also about including certain things that are needed for our bodies to function. So what comes to mind are healthy fats, especially healthy saturated fats. That's very important for your overall health, your brain function, your hormone function, and your hair growth. So definitely keep that in mind. Are you getting enough healthy saturated fats in your diet? I'm not going to dive right into the food topic in this video because I have another video. It's not a video that gives direct advice. It's a video talking about how I ate during my last pregnancy in a way to prioritize my state of health as well as my hair health. So if you'd like to hear more about my take on foods you might want to be eating, if you're not opposed to them because these aren't vegan foods, check out that video. Now, another thing I'm going to say about food is avoid strict diets and avoid like quickly losing weight. So if you're losing hair and you do happen to be on a strict diet right now, or you have recently lost a ton of weight very quickly, that could very well be the cause of the hair loss because our bodies don't like quick, sudden change. Our bodies like things to be done slowly and gradually. So let's say your diet is just absolute garbage and you're just eating horribly or you're very overweight. Okay, yeah, you might want to address that, but don't just like jump right into like cutting out every bad thing you were eating and trying to lose 20 pounds in a month. Don't do that because that's going to place so much stress on your body. In my opinion, when it comes to hair health and diets, you really want to just take very small baby steps when it comes to cutting certain things out of your diet. And you want to have more of an emphasis on including healthy foods in your diet. Because if you think about it, if you're just focusing on including healthier foods in your diet and you're getting satiated and filled with these good foods, you're going to be less likely to gravitate towards eating whatever unhealthy foods you were eating. So in my opinion, we should have more of a positive perspective of dieting, not being like a list of things to cut out, but thinking about things that you want to include in your diet and not having this massive focus on cutting out every bad thing. Okay, so let's talk about hormone imbalance because this is a huge one, especially for women. Most of the time, when I hear from women who are losing hair, it's either postpartum or it's women who are like in the midst of menopause or postmenopause. And yeah, hormones have a huge role to play, especially when it comes to women in our bodies and our hair health. So let's talk about that. First of all, I'm going to talk about postpartum because that is what's most familiar to me personally because I've experienced it 5 times already. So there is okay, the standard wisdom about postpartum hair loss that I see around on mainstream websites or things you might read is that postpartum hair loss is simply your hair shedding the hairs that it didn't shed during pregnancy, because pregnancy hormones mean that we tend to hold on to hairs more and shed less. And so after the baby's born, your body starts shedding all of those hairs that it would have shed during the pregnancy. And there's obviously truth to that, I'm sure. But in my opinion, there are certain cases where a woman is losing so much hair after she has a baby that it goes beyond just like a physiologic shedding. It's probably indicating that there's some sort of problem, and it might not be a problem that you're actually able to address completely right now, because the thing about postpartum is the quality of your postpartum and how you feel after you have a baby and how your hair is after you have a baby is largely impacted by how you ate, how you acted during your whole pregnancy leading up to that point. So, ideally, if you are not pregnant yet, or if you're just early pregnancy, this is something you want to start thinking about now, like making sure you're prioritizing eating healthy and building up nutrient stores during pregnancy so that you don't just get to your postpartum and then you're all depleted and then you're trying to build it up at that point. You really want to think about this during the pregnancy if possible. Now, if you're already there, don't worry, like things will get better. I'm going to mention a few things in this video that can help you, as well as all the other things I already mentioned thus far. Another thing that's important to keep in mind for postpartum, like let's say you haven't had your baby yet, this is a great time to consider how you're going to take care of yourself in the immediate postpartum, because I personally strongly believe in the importance of resting after you have a baby. And I realize that everyone's situation is different and that not everyone is able to rest as much as other people. But traditionally, across pretty much every culture, women would have a lying in period after having a baby. Traditionally, this was always about 40 days or 6 weeks after having a baby, which I know to us sounds so extreme because our culture is all about go, go, go. And most people can't afford to have in-house help anymore just because of the way the economy is. But traditionally, that's what people did, and I believe it's because they saw through the generations the importance of women getting enough rest after they have a baby, and I honestly believe this can affect your health long term, the quality of your postpartum. I'm not saying you have to lie in bed for 6 weeks. Again, this is going to look different for everyone. Maybe it'll just be 2 days where you lie in bed, or maybe it will be 2 weeks. For me, I was pretty much in bed or on the couch for 2 weeks after my last birth. And then after that, I started contributing, getting up and contributing to the household more. But yeah, that's something to think about because I honestly wouldn't be surprised if having a very get up and go kind of postpartum could increase the amount of hair loss you have later on just because your body's in a state of stress from that. Okay, also another thing to mention when it comes to hormones and hair loss is the use of topical progesterone cream. And when I say progesterone cream, I'm talking about bioidentical progesterone. So typically this is derived from wild yams, I believe. So it comes from nature. It's not the same as the synthetic progesterone that you see in like contraceptive pills, for example. Talking about the bioidentical progesterone cream that comes from wild yams, and you apply it topically because your body can actually absorb it more effectively when you apply it on your skin. So why am I recommending this for hormonal hair loss? Well, when it comes to postpartum, a hormone comes into play after you have a baby called prolactin, and it's known as the breastfeeding hormone, and we do want prolactin to be produced. But if you have too much prolactin after having a baby and it's unopposed prolactin, meaning you don't have enough progesterone to balance it out, then that can increase the rate of hair shedding. So I've often heard people say that topical progesterone cream can help with balancing out your prolactin and therefore reducing your hair fall. I can't yet speak to that because this is my first postpartum where I'm using it, so I will give you all an update on that as I discover how it works for me. Topical progesterone cream can also be great for other hormonal times in life, such as menopause, because often progesterone is just something that's lacking. And in our culture, estrogen tends to be more dominant because there's a lot of synthetic estrogens in the environment floating around in the food we eat, in plastic products, and that gets into our bodies and it behaves like estrogen. So using topical bioidentical progesterone is a great way to balance out excess estrogen, which can help reduce hair loss and help regrow hair. Now, a couple other supplements that come to mind that are superfood supplements that you might want to try, or just herbal supplements. You could actually take the wild yam extract as a supplement form, or you can take something known as maca, which is a root vegetable. It's like a root superfood. I believe it's from Peru. I've used it over the past couple years, and it's an adaptogen, so it helps your body adapt to stress, but it's also known to help balance hormones for both men and women. So I would definitely recommend trying that out. Some other ones that come to mind are Vitex, Saw Palmetto. I forget how to say it. I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind that are hormone balancing herbs. But again, if you're at all questioning about whether you should take these, I would recommend consulting with someone like a naturopath or a herbalist to see if they relate to your specific situation, because everyone's body is different and what works for some people might not work for you. So I would definitely recommend consulting with anyone if you're at all in doubt about this. Okay, some other things to consider when it comes to these inner core remedies are you could try acupuncture. And when I say acupuncture, basically all the same benefits relate to this as I already talked about with acupressure, except that you actually go to a professional, which I would recommend if you're having serious hair loss problems. I would recommend going to see a professional because they can assess your specific state of health and do an acupuncture routine that relates specifically to your state of health. Personally, when I get acupuncture, I go to a traditional Chinese medicine person because that's just the modality I like, but there are a lot of people who do acupuncture nowadays. Now, you could also try Ayurveda. Ayurveda is like traditional Chinese medicine, except it's traditional Indian medicine from India. And they have sort of similar ways of looking at the body as traditional Chinese medicine, but just sort of like different ways of explaining it as well. So that could be another modality you might want to look into. And India is certainly known for people having beautiful, gorgeous hair, so I would definitely recommend that as well as a possible option. Now, some other inner health factors that you might want to look at are stress levels. Are you very stressed? If yes, are there any ways that you can work on reducing that? Now, you might also want to look at the quality of your sleep. How are you sleeping? If you're sleeping badly, is there anything you can do to improve that, such as not going on screens before bedtime, having an hour of downtime before bed, or taking supplements that can help improve the quality of your sleep? You might also want to look at your relationships. How are the relationships in your life? Are they causing you stress? If they are causing you stress, honestly, losing hair could potentially be one of the symptoms of this if you're in this perpetually awful relationship with somebody. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. Any kind of relationship can cause stress in our lives if it's a negative one. So that's something to look at, as well as your overall mental health. If you're struggling mentally, it could very likely also contribute to a hair loss problem. And of course, there's so many different ways to address mental health. Trying to address that, trying to improve your state of mental health if it's something that you're dealing with currently. Now, another thing to mention that sort of relates to hormonal hair loss, but it has to do with thyroid health. If you suspect that you have a thyroid problem, definitely see someone for help about that, because there are many cases where someone is losing hair and it was simply because their thyroid had a problem, and once they address the thyroid issue, then their hair growth returns and they grow more hair. So that's definitely something to look at as well. Okay, everybody, that's everything I wanted to say for this video. I really hope you found something of benefit in this video, and if you're struggling with hair loss, please know that you're not alone and there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Try these remedies, and honestly, if you're feeling overwhelmed by all this, I would just recommend choosing one of the remedies from the first section of the quick fix remedies and trying that and seeing how it goes. And the way it works is that usually that can help improve things enough to kind of give you the morale boost needed to maybe look at your state of internal health more, if that's one of the factors for you. So yeah, I really hope this video helped you. Leave your comments and questions below. Give this video a like, share it with anyone who you think could benefit from this information, and I'll see you all in the next video.